Cool.
Oh, there we go. It's working.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Amazing. Let's get it.
Wow. All right. Let's wait for people to join in. That was stressful.
Oh, it's my worst nightmare. You got it.
It's because I've only gone live using just a webcam, right? And
Sure.
I just did it straight through YouTube. So I have never actually done where I have to invite a guest and let the guest or even myself screen share. So I've never done it before. So this was well, we're about 15 minutes late, but that's okay. We're here, so that's all good.
If the people want the info, they're gonna show up. You know what I mean?
Yes. All right, let's give it a few minutes and we'll
Cool.
get started. I believe a couple of people should be here at least, and then I'm gonna send a little notification to the group saying we have started.
Awesome. I'm gonna introduce myself like 6 times. Is that cool?
Yeah, of course,
Go through?
absolutely. Yeah, we
All
can do
right.
it like every 5 minutes or something. Do you want to get started?
I'll just throw it out there so the people know who are here now. They get that information, and then we'll go. You know, my name's Elliot. Thank you so much for having me, Frank. It's amazing. I love what Frank does. I love what he's all about. We met through a mutual friend who played professional soccer all over the world, Maccabi Tel Aviv. So really good group of guys. My name's Elliot. I'm a former Division I men's first assistant. I coached at Florida Atlantic University with the men's program. I was in charge of national and international recruitment for just around 6 years. So I'm super pumped to get this information out to you because this thing is crazy. It's legitimately crazy, and it's crazier and crazier as these rules from the NCAA just get more complex and name, image, and likeness and all that stuff. So thanks so much for being here. It's a pleasure to meet everyone.
All right. Well, really thank you for your time. I'm super excited to share the knowledge to anybody that's attending this call. And especially in the US, as we know, the college recruitment, and there's so many rules and laws around it, and it's changing every day, right? So it can be quite confusing on where to start, how to start, and what exactly you should be doing to really effectively get your job done, but on time, right? Because you don't want to be late on this, and especially when schools are maybe looking for certain positions and certain characters or players. And if you're that player, but just because you're late, sometimes you just might be overlooked, right? So just being ahead in that sense is so vitally important. So obviously tonight we're going to cover all of those and how Elliot can help all of us be really effective in college recruitment.
Amazing. So the first thing I'm super interested to learn about is sort of the demographic that's on the channel right now. So if you guys have a little bit of time and you want to get involved, I would appreciate it greatly. So who right now is currently either a junior or senior or has a student athlete, their son or daughter, who's a junior or senior, and then who's a freshman and sophomore, right? Because those are going to be so different. So if you just want to drop that, just like senior, junior, to see what
leave it in the comments.
Leave it in the comments. Yeah, 100%. There's so many different routes that we want to go down, but I want to make sure that we're hitting on the people that are here. They're spending the time, right? So once we get some of that information that's coming in, Frank, if you want to let me know sort of what that breakdown is.
Yeah, of course.
We can move in that direction.
Yep.
So, Frank, can you tell me your experience with the college recruitment process from working with student athletes, day in and day out? What does that look like for you?
Honestly, when it comes to the actual recruitment side and guiding players through the journey of a recruitment, I have no experience. I'm going to be straight very honest here.
Mm.
No real experience. Therefore, I don't have much of an answer when players come to me for such guidance.
Sure.
So I've always been looking for someone to either teach me or someone to help these players that I'm working with. A lot of high school players I'm working with, but there's not enough information or the knowledge for me or from me. So, to have you here is so important, and it's critical that I'm learning here, right? Just, I'm here to share the information that you're about to share to us, but I'm here to learn as well. So we see a lot of freshmen. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 freshmen, 2 sophomores, and then also from my end, I've got lots of sophomores here as well. So
Awesome.
that's what I'm seeing currently. So plenty of freshmen to start.
That's amazing. So early visibility. Let's touch on that, right? So right now it seems like, most of the people in the audience, we're not getting ghosted yet, right? This isn't part of the process. When you become a junior, senior, you start engaging with college coaches, oftentimes there will be conversations that get started and then abruptly just deaded, like ghosted, gone, done, for no explanation, no reason. And it leaves families really confused, like what's going on. So I won't go into it too much, but just think about this. When you're not speaking with someone on a consistent basis, let's say you're in a relationship with this gorgeous girl or gorgeous guy, and all of a sudden they stop talking to you. What does it mean? It means they're not interested anymore, right? So that's like the way that I try to look at that lens. I mean, I've had that happen a bunch. Have you, Frank?
Of course.
It's such the easiest analogy there, right? But what you will, let me sort of frame this a little bit, right? So what I want to touch on is the recruitment industry as a whole, where it was built from, where it is now today, some of the misguiding principles that you hear often within it, and then how can we overcome those? How can we change that narrative in our heads? And then how can we be successful? If you want to use a platform to help your son or daughter get into college, great. But if you want to do it by yourself, even better. So I want to provide you guys with sort of that information. Starting out, and this is so messed up, right? But there's a saying, and it will be throughout the presentation. And it goes like this: hope, just hope in general, is literally monetized in this college recruitment process. Your fears, your anxieties as a parent, as a student athlete, are literally taken advantage of when you see an ad on social media, when you see a presentation like this, right? Here in this setting, I'm trying to get your attention, but we need to be aware of the multi-billion with a B dollar industry that sort of, is the oldest player in this game, these legacy platforms. So we need to be aware of that. And I'll go into detail as we move forward, because I'm sure a lot of you guys have been interacting with some of these platforms, even as a freshman, right? So I'd love you guys to share in the feed right now. If you have started reaching out to college coaches, if you have, I know some of you guys are young, but if you have, take a guess as to why the majority of student athletes are not getting responses from college coaches. Like, do we think it's because we're not having our emails seen, or everyone's doing the same thing? There's just too much noise and clutter within the industry. Are we aiming too high? Like, I'd love for you to put in those responses right now so we could just touch on this, because it makes a huge difference as you go forward in the process.
And in the meantime, I'd love to ask you, Elliot, can you tell me what this platform is that you're screen sharing to us?
What this platform is?
Yes.
What do you mean? Why am I so confused?
What is RFX?
Okay. RFX is sort of a brainchild of what I created. I created a software platform that is significantly different than your legacy platforms. And to get into what that is, it's a little complex, but if you see what an NCSA, a sports recruits, a Be Recruited, these platforms are systematically designed to look like they're different entities. Unfortunately, IMG, NCSA, huge billion-dollar conglomerate, has invested money back from huge investment banking firms, and they're actually owned by the same people. So that just right there might blow your mind away.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Sports Recruits was literally just purchased by NCSA and IMG Academy for an undisclosed amount. That was roughly 2.5 months ago. So in this sector, once a platform, like let's say eventually RFX gets big enough to, really dig into some of their market share, these guys are going to come and they're going to say, we're going to pay you $20 million, $50 million just to get you out of the way, which is, well, it's interesting. How do you guys think about that, right? Like, I think it's pretty crazy. Frank, what about you? Did you know any of that? That sort of backstory?
No, I honestly had no idea. I mean, it does sound very much businessy, right? If you're getting too big, if you're getting in the way, they're gonna come and buy you out.
Billion, right?
Yeah,
When we're talking about billions of dollars, and that's what this is, right? RFX itself is a AI and automated platform that does a bunch of the work on the front end and simplifies the process so that student athletes average 40, 50 responses in 72 hours, as opposed to getting on, writing your own emails, trying to figure out, which schools should I be targeting, and then writing the emails, taking hours to do it, and then not getting any responses back, right? So we've really simplified that process for you guys. So did anyone throw anything in the chat?
Yeah. So Steve Song says they have not reached out to any coaches yet.
Okay.
Kennedy says NCAA rules too young, so
Right.
schools only reply with what seems like an automated reply inviting me to the next IED camp.
Right. Cool. Makes sense. So let me. This actually is great because we could be a little bit preventative, right? So, as a former college coach, and if you weren't here before, my name's Elliot, former Division I coach. I was the head of college recruitment for Florida Atlantic University, which is like a pretty mid-tier, and every year they're getting better and better Division I program. I was there for just about under 6 years, and I would get 200-300 emails a week from prospective student athletes, right? And there is no way to really respond to all of these student athletes because the vast majority of them, which goes to what we're speaking about now, are not going to be at the level, right? So aiming too high in this process is a killer. It's a killer from a response or lack thereof perspective, but it's also a killer for morale, right? Like this process it could be long, it could be tedious. And if we're just not getting responses, we're putting in hours of the work, nothing's happening, there's no movement. Your son or your daughter or you get really discouraged, right? And there's a couple of ways that we can make sure that doesn't happen, which is not aiming too high. Ego within this process is a killer. So we as human beings just think we're better than we are in a lot of things. I think I'm the best at a lot of stuff, but I need to bring myself back down to reality. And a couple of ways that you guys could do that is by speaking to, one of your club directors. Maybe you have a director of college recruitment. And even though it's a pay-to-play system, and many times they might tell you what you want to hear, you as a parent or you as a student athlete really need to frame it and tell them, listen, I'm looking for honest feedback here. It doesn't really matter what the response is that you're going to tell me. It's important that it's true, it's factual, so that I'm not wasting time, right? And when I've worked with athletes in the past, it's always been, let's have that conversation with people who have either played at the college level or higher, so that you get the feedback that you really can. So aiming too high, not good enough. Emails not seen, it's very possible. The head coach of Lehigh University, he just told me the other day, we were at an ECNL event together. he goes, Elliot, I have 6,400 and something emails unopened on my desktop. I'm like, Dean, I know, right? And it's really all about just not having the time to write a response to everyone and say, I'm sorry, you're not a right fit for the program.
Quick question here. So
Yeah.
how much is, obviously 6,400 emails, and there's no way, I mean, it's a 99% of chance you're going to get buried in the email, right? So how would you then stand out or be seen in those emails? Or is it just a pure chance? Or is there a way for you to be heard in terms of your name? Like, how does the coach find out about you?
Yeah. It's a great question. And it's a great question because it's a multi sort of faceted, answer response. And the reason is because we need to do a little bit of work before we start sending out emails, right? And what does that look like? We need to start doing research, looking at rosters, finding out what is that team comprised of from a graduation year perspective, right? So, and this is where all the tough, mundane, time crunching, agonizing pain comes in, where you're literally sifting through rosters saying, okay, a right back is a junior, right back junior, right? And going through there and saying, okay, well, what's missing? So what are we graduating in the next 1 to 2 years? And based off of the amount of athletes per position, trying to make a really good, educated guess as to there might be an opening for someone like myself. So doing that research on the front end is really important. So once you've identified that, let's use St. John's for an example. So the St. John's coaches were back in the 90s, because I'm super old, they were my club coaches, and they really helped me understand this process to a T. Let's say you want to play at St. John's and you want to write an email to them, and you've seen that they need a right back next year. If you frame it as if you're a midfielder and you're writing, that's not even going to get opened typically, right? Because why are they going to open up a subject line that already is stating someone we don't need, right? So what I always do is I always do that research, make sure we're targeting the right schools, and then speaking to what those programs need. Now, to ask you guys to go watch some games, find them online is a lot to do. But if you're really about this process, you might watch 1 or 2 games and sort of analyze that right back, see what they did well, what they didn't do well. And maybe you could put, a targeted subject line, right back, attacking in the final third goal scorer, something like that. Like taking the attributes that you have as a player, stripping it down so that you could fit it in the headline, and really creating like a unique value proposition, if you will, which is just what do you do well and what do they need, right? And sort of sandwich those together. Does that make sense, Frank? Did I explain that?
I think so. I think so. And then on top, yeah. No, well, I'm just trying to see if the audience clearly gets it, right? And so on top of that, Kennedy asked, how do you feel the portal message with your educated guess if there will be spots open by the time you will finally get there and graduate?
Yeah, it's really a tough question. It's the X factor. You just don't know. You really don't know. And those are some of the things that are going to come into play. I don't have an answer for that, right? What I was trying to do over the past couple of months is put this into a formula, just so that people could really understand what that formula is. But I'm not even going to give it to you because it's not there yet. But one of the key, barriers was, all right, what's going on with this portal, because it's really the unknown. Did anyone respond to you, Frank, just about maybe clearing that up a little bit? As far as the subject line stuff, or is everyone sort of on the same page?
I No one said no. They don't understand. So I'm assuming everyone's understood it.
Okay, cool.
But it's just like sending any sort of emails, right? The subject is obviously so important. Otherwise, I'm not even going to bother opening it.
Yeah. So important. What basically it needs to come down to, what is that team looking for? What do they need? Where are the holes? And you need to try to figure that out.
So do you think it'll be a good step for high school students and families to go on targeted schools and kind of go over the rosters to see, all right, I can see the this many seniors or juniors and seniors that might graduate by the time I'm looking to go and get there, right? So that might be a good step to follow.
Absolutely. I think what you don't want to do as a freshman and a sophomore, you need to really figure out how much time do you want to put towards this, because college coaches don't need emails from freshmen and sophomores, every month. They just don't need that. But what is a really good, sort of route to go down is every 3 months or every quarter, basically, right? We want to send out an email, say, hey, this is who I am. I'm in the class of XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
If you could forward me some camp information, that would be fantastic. Because like everyone said here, coaches can respond when it's about camp, which is like a little caveat that you can use to your benefit. And I'd love some more information about the program, right? So you're creating some awareness, and I would actually do that to every single coach on staff, but I would address it to them individually, and I would not have it come from one email address to NCC people on it, right? I would do one every individually. So that's a great way to go about it.
Yeah. Now, how important is anybody to be ranked on like Top Drawer or all these profile rankings, right?
Yeah, it's a money game, guys. It's a money game. And listen, you can come into this and you could say, listen, Elliot also has a platform. So let me just be super transparent. Before some of these, and I'm not going to name the one, but before they started coming out with these player profiles, some of these different online, ones you mentioned, they reached out to myself, and I was in the space. Some people knew me, and one of the main reasons we never had anything come to fruition is because I understood what this was. It's a static profile, usually, not all the time, but usually behind some sort of paywall or some sort of login. The vast majority, not all, vast majority, especially if you're targeting Division I, high-level Division III, and high-level Division II, there is no way they're taking any time to look at any of that. Now, if you're targeting a lower-level Divisional III program, which, by the way, are very, very good programs, right? That is going to be the coach who's going to more than likely look at some of those, profiles. And you need to think about it like this. It's brand awareness, right? So the Dukes, the Virginias, the big names in that sport are the ones who are going to get the majority, the influx of correspondence, right? However, all the rest of the schools, they don't get that, right? The small D3s in Missouri, the small D2s in, Western Pennsylvania, they're not getting that same sort of outreach. So those are the coaches who would use them. So it really just depends on who you're targeting. For me personally, I never did because I never needed to, right? I had 200, 300, 400 emails a week. So I just didn't need to go to those other spots. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And Kennedy responds, is there a way to know you're on the school's radar or watch list before June 15 going into your senior year? Can a school let you know yes or no?
So I think there's a couple of ways that you could find out. I think the way that they respond to your email that you write to them every quarter about camp, and every time just ask about camp, because that means they could respond, right? So like, hey, can you send me some more information on your camp? And then a lot of times what I see is, hey, keep up the great work. Or, we're going to be here and here over the next couple of months. Just sort of information that they wouldn't necessarily send if they weren't interested in someone, right? Because that's going to take time. And a college coach, it's one thing they do not have.
So how important is college ID camps, and how would you rate that weighing against maybe connections? So such as playing for the right club platform, such as Real Colorado for the girls out here.
Awesome.
Or knowing or playing for certain coaches. What do you think is the most effective way for somebody to get recruited?
You have to play against the best competition because that's where the coaches are, right? So being in MLS Next, being in ECNL, EDP is not EDP, DPL, right? That's where the coaches are going to be because that's where the highest level of talent is. So, and parents don't like to hear this sometimes because there's so many factors that go into it, right? It's really important you play against the highest level competition. So that's super important. Having a coach that is well connected. This is a tricky one because in so many instances, what happens in those scenarios, and you need to be aware of it, doesn't happen all the time. Those coaches have a regional connection, right? Because they've lived there and that's, they've, sort of not infiltrated, but they're part of that community, right? The coaching community is really tight knit, but it's usually, broken down regionally. So if you're looking for more national exposure, that coach may not have that connection if you're from New York and you want to play out in California. So just realize that, right? And that's just humanity as a whole, right? We're not going to be connected with everyone. So I would say you need to have a coach that has played, preferably coached at the college level or higher. And the reason I say that is because college coaches get called all the time. They get called all the time by coaches, parents, student athletes pitching themselves or pitching an athlete to them, but that person has no idea what the level of intensity is at the college level. Bigger, stronger, faster, less time on the ball, shorter decision-making time. It's a different world. So when I would have someone reach out to me like that, I would thank them for their time and I thank them for the information. There's no way I'm following up on that. However, if a coach called me and he said, listen, I played for St. John's. I also coached at Colgate for a couple of years. I at least know that he has some sort of understanding and evidence and knows what it takes to compete at that level, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Now, there are people out there that I used to count on all the time that were overseas primarily, that maybe hadn't played at that level. However, over so much time, you've built so much trust. We recruited from Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Spain at FAU, very heavily international at that time too. And Kaz Donev, the head coach, and myself, we utilized our contacts, and that was only because we knew them over so many years, and they produced time and time again. So something to think about. And I know there was a third part to that question, Frank. What was the part that I missed? Do you know?
Probably what weighs more, what's more important.
Yeah. It's a tough one. I would say play at the highest level you possibly can, right? Because then there's visibility and exposure.
Yeah.
And it's not regional.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
a lot
how many schools should be on your target lists? Is it just about volume, or should you narrow down and spearhead it?
As a freshman and sophomore, you want to start narrowing down, but it sort of narrows itself down by, it's very simple at the beginning, right? It's like, I want to go to a big school. We need to look at this through a couple of different lenses, right? So let me start here, Frank. So academics, you need to look at. You need to look at athletics. You need to look at location. And then you also want to look at social life and like what's the campus like. So you're looking at these 4 factors, right? And then the 5th one is gut intuition, which is sort of when you take an official visit, an unofficial visit, and you just sort of get that gut feeling. I had that feeling when I went to Lehigh. I was like, wow, this place is where I want to be. So looking at it through those lenses, you want to sort of filter out. You need to be open to everything. You need to be open to every level. I think that's really the best approach. Being open to every level, and when I say that, I mean being open to having conversations with coaches at every level, especially when you're a junior. After that, what is it, June 15th? Going into your junior year. Listening to everyone and getting comfortable having conversations. I'll tell you a story. So I did this sort of ass backwards. Like, it was bad, right? Like, I learned a lot in the recruitment process, even when I had guys who knew what they were doing guiding me. So I started from a top down, right? I firmly believe you go from a bottom up, right? So you want to understand and reach out to schools in the beginning where you can play. One, you're going to start having conversations with coaches. It's going to get you comfortable because they're going to be asking different questions. You're going to get used to answering them. You're going to get confidence. You're going to get responses. If I would have emailed Division III programs like St. Lawrence University, like the top D3s, I would have had so many more responses, right? So it's important to get comfortable, bottom up. In the coaching world, you never know where a coach is going to be next year. You never know. It's such a tight-knit community. So when you have these conversations, you make these connections, you make these networks. It's just like building your book of business. If you're someone in sales or marketing, for your career, right? You want to keep in touch with these people and you want to be respectful. However, don't have an expectation that they're going to be respectful in return. And that's the truth. And that just really comes down to like time and stuff, not having it, right? So yeah, that's what I would say on that topic. What did I miss? I know I went on a little bit of a ramble there.
I don't think you missed anything,
Okay.
but you mentioned bottom up rather than top down,
Right.
as a strategy, and that's obviously what you would suggest to the people.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, if you're a top player, right? I worked very closely with Cruz Held. He just signed with Portland men's side, and he was a top prospect. He used RFX for a very specific reason, which really worked out in his benefit. But before he did that, and I'll give you his scenario because it is interesting. Top 5 right back in the country, right? Just got brought into the U18 national team, high-level player. Those athletes, for the most part, are not going to need any sort of platform, really any support. They have the choice, right? Because they have the schools coming to them, which is rare. And that's another thing. Don't believe that schools are going to come find you because you're that good. It's not going to happen unless it's documented. I'm playing on the national team. I'm playing this way, right? So Cruz Held had 5 of his dream schools perfectly set up. It was Wake, it was Duke, it was Virginia, and it was 2 more. I forget what they were. 3 of them, and this was in his senior year, 3 of them picked up international student athletes. Sorry, Cruz, we're no longer interested. We just signed someone who's bigger, stronger, faster. Sorry, right? 4th school, transfer portal. Sorry, Cruz. Duke University, he's flying out to go to his official visit the next day, 10 o'clock at night. Hey, Cruz, I'm sorry. There's no point in you coming out. We just signed someone from the transfer portal. How crushing is that, right? So when you're asking how many schools should you have on your list, you need to have as many as you can. And you need to have different levels of play. if you're just focusing on Division I, especially on the men's side, you are going to set yourself up for failure, no doubt. So to answer that question, I know someone asked that and I may not have answered it so well before. You need to really have as many programs as you can. And you just need to be transparent with the coaches at the D3 level. If you think you're a D1 player, that's okay. You could tell them that. Coach, I really think I'm a D1 player, but I really like what you're about. I love your culture. I love the school, and I want to keep communicating. And if I make a decision, I'll let you know. Like, it's as simple as that. But what we do is we overthink everything, right? And we think everything is, a conspiracy theory, right? And I did too.
So in a way, you would say, like, for example, RFX could be a solution to most of these problems. So it's kind of like having your own agent for your college.
It's a good point, right? So Cruz held, getting back to that story. So after that happened, he was nervous, right? He was really, really nervous. So he got on our platform, and what RFX does is we automate the outreach process. So he took 10 minutes. He filled out his onboarding, which is, really specific questions about you as a player. A couple of different questions than you usually get. We really dig in, because what we do is we get you in front of the right coaches, right? Our algorithm will get you in front of the right coaches and that need you. And then we make it super simple for them to respond. So do about 10 minutes of work. Cruz now has those emails sent out on his behalf. Coaches click a highlight video, and on top of that highlight video, what we give is those key pieces of information. So before they even look at a profile, they're looking at a highlight video. And it's, what club are you playing for? What league? So we know the level. What's your GPA? How much can you afford to pay each year to go to school? Super important. If you're writing your own emails, you might want to include that, because that tells a coach, I can afford this kid, I can't, right? And then what position you play and your number, right? So that information is presented to the college coach, and then underneath the highlight video is, are you interested in recruiting this athlete for the year, that they're recruitable? And they signal interest or they signal disinterest. So it's so simple. It's really lead generation for college recruitment, so that you could start having as many conversations with schools that are really looking for players like you. Does that?
Yeah, that answers it. Yeah,
cool. So yes, you can definitely use it as your own agent. It's a caveat, it's a side story, but for myself, right, as a business owner, we have like a B2B, so business to business, and then B2C, business to clients or customers like families. We've been in so many conversations with agencies that are out there right now, so many. These boutique agencies that, say they have contacts with college coaches. I don't know, some do, some don't. And they're opting not to use our platform. And they're opting not to use the platform because they're not needed, right? If we provide you with all the college coaches who are looking for you, right? Why do you need someone else? Yeah. Unless you're looking for some mentorship, right? Which is completely fair and honest. So it's really been interesting to see, and I never expected that.
We got a few questions here.
Yeah. Well, I'm listening. I gotta plug in. Sorry, go for it.
We don't have much time here either, but some of the questions. Does this mean if I'm good enough, it would be best to join an ECNL team that I would play on as quick as possible?
As opposed to what? As opposed to an EDP or?
I suppose, or maybe supposedly a lower rank.
Lower level? Yeah. So if you could play MLS Next, or if you could play, what's considered higher in women's? Is it
GA, ECNL? Yeah.
So you want to play there as a male? You want to play in the academies, and if you're not, ECNL gets visibility too. Yes.
Are mass ID camps worth it, or is it better to go to individual school camps?
I like the individual route, which is sort of counterintuitive to what I just was speaking about, but it's later on in the process. I think if you're a freshman or a sophomore, and money is not an object, right? And you could easily get to it. It's not interfering with your life. Exposure is exposure. Exposure is good. And you might catch the eye of a college coach, right? So I'm not one of these people who's like, they're terrible. You can't, it's a money scheme. It is. It's 100% a money grab. But it's really about your expectation going into it. And there's a saying, goes something like this: expectations are premeditated resentments, right? So it's like, if you have this idea of what something's going to look like and that doesn't happen, you get really frustrated. You feel that rejection. But if you go in with eyes wide open and you have an intention and a strategy to say, listen, freshman, sophomore year, I'm going to go to some of these bigger ID camps. My parents can afford it. It's not an issue. It's not interfering with anything. And I just want to, get exposure from it. Great. It's awesome. If it's expensive, if it is a pain in the rear to get there, no, I wouldn't do it. I really wouldn't. What I would do is I would focus on going to ID camps at programs that you really have, like your top programs that have also showcased some interest in you. And that does not mean through one email, come to my ID camp, I like what you did, I saw you play. No, like you've had a couple of conversations, and you've been hyper specific, or their email is hyper specific about you. So I saw you play at the GA. I saw you playing against this. I thought you did this really well, right? If there's some intention there, then you should do it. That's my take on it. And I think it could be really, really impactful if you're going to the right ones and you've sort of selected, which programs are interested in you, and it would be beneficial. Once again, you need to go in with expectations, right? Yeah. Because a lot of the student athletes that are at these camps, they're not at the level. So is that going to make you look good? Is it going to be difficult to stand out? Those are questions that you need to just sort of ask yourself, right?
Exposure is exposure. Huh?
Exposure is exposure.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So you kind of answered this, but are girls reality playing D1 different than the boys? Do girls need to be doing things differently or be more hopeful than males?
Sure. I think the reason why females is a little bit more realistic coming out of the club scene, especially for American female student athletes, is because you don't have such an influx of international students, right? Like, yes, the transfer portal's there, but you don't have 100,000 other international, female athletes that are, just flooding the market, right? If you're athletic and if you're fast, you have a really good chance of playing Division I soccer, because a lot of Division I. One of my former players when I was at FAU, he's now the head coach at Eastern Kentucky, amazing coach. But he says, listen, Elliot, one of the first things we need to look at is speed and athleticism. And it's actually the opposite of what people think, right? Oh, because you want to score goals. No, it's the close down space, right? Like, you need players that close down space, that could press defensively so that you can then, have that chance to score on the opposite end. So females have a lot, easier time than I would say the men, but you need to be a really good player to play Division I soccer, right? Yeah.
If you have interest from a D3 or D2 school, how do you communicate that in the best way to the D1 schools you're trying to get interest from?
I just did a post on this. If you go to Recruit Fluency on Instagram, you'll probably see his last day or two. One of the questions that college coaches ask, undoubtedly, is, what are the other schools that are recruiting you, right? Let's write in the chat if you're a parent Have you heard that question? Or if you're a junior, senior, have you heard that question before? Because it comes up all the time. And Frank, it's really, whoever asked this question, amazing question. It's very difficult, and you need to answer in a really uncomfortable, awkward, but potentially game sort of, recruitment saving answer. So what do I mean by that? On our app, you have the option to show coaches who's showing interest in you, right? And we did that for a reason. And it's the reason that you brought up. So if you're on our app, and I'm just going to use this as the analogy, right? So if you're on our app and I'm a Division I coach and you have that toggled on and I see that there's 4 or 5 other Division I programs, maybe considered equal or better, that's going to stand out because coaches validate their recruitment choices and picks by what other coaches think of them. It's just inherent, right? So when you're speaking about having a Division III or a lower level program show interest in you, it's very hard to leverage that to a Division I program. Now into today's landscape, what you could do, I'm just trying to think outside the box, is you can answer, or you can sort of maybe get away with answering a little bit differently because name, image, and likeness comes into play. And I won't go down that rabbit hole. I can't. It's too insane. But let me reframe it. In my video the other day, I spoke to if a lower Division I program was, if a higher Division I program was sitting with me and asked me what other schools are interested in you and are you speaking to, and it's only sort of lower divisional teams. So like, let's say I'm speaking to Lehigh University, I'm speaking to Patriot League schools, right? Which is lower to mid Division I, and then a Big East coach reaches out to you, right? Or one of those bigger conferences. And they say, who are you speaking to? You need to answer something like this. Coach, I really appreciate you asking that question. I knew it was going to come up. I'm so early in the process that I really just want to keep that between my parents and I. And as we get further along in the process, I'm more than happy to have that conversation with you. I'm just not comfortable answering that, right now. And then literally having to sit through that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, that awkwardness.
That's right. But everything you want is, behind a hard conversation, right?
Absolutely, right? So, and they'll just let that go. So this is what I'd say, like all in all, I know we're getting short on time. Some things to look out for as you go through this process. Hope is expensive. Monetizing your anxieties and fears. If you ever feel that happening, take a step back and really assess the situation, right? And think through it with a clear mind and sleep on things and don't do things, irrationally fast. So yeah, if you guys need any other information, you could go to Recruit Fluency on Instagram. That's really where we post most of our stuff. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a little bit long-winded, Frank. So that's what happens. I apologize.
I think it shows up on the screen now, but you could also click on that link. Click on the link, and then that's gonna take it to the App Store where you can download RFX as well. But also, additionally, what should the families do next? What would you suggest?
It's really tough depending upon where they are in the process. I would say this: assess where you are. Are you playing at the best level you possibly can, right? And as a freshman and sophomore, start compiling film. Start getting used to clipping games, because you're probably not going to use that, but it's really important as you go forward, because your highlight video is going to be your exposure, especially if you're a kid who's looking to play outside of your region. So I would say focus on getting used to, clipping videos, understanding what that is, what clips should go in there, and things like that. And focus on making sure that you're playing at the highest level possible and doing well in school, because it's really a big piece of it as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What was your website's address? Can you remind everyone here?
www.gorfx.app. And you could also find us in the Apple Store at RFX Soccer Recruit. And we will be up in the Google Play Store in about a week and a half. So you'll be able to find us there at RFX Soccer Recruit as well, if it's something you're interested in. And if you're interested in reaching out to me, questions, I have a terrible way of just helping people way too much. So I'm more than happy to help you. Support@recruitfluency.com.
Yeah. And if you have any questions regarding RFX and recruitment, you can also reach out to me, and then I will help you. I will guide you to Elliot, and we can help you through that direction as well. I hope this was helpful. We're just running out of time. Sorry for the technical difficulties earlier. Yeah, but we should definitely do this again.
Yeah, I'd love to. Frank, I love you. You're the man. You're doing incredible stuff. And thank you guys to, all your followers. I really appreciate the time. All right, guys.
Thank you so much. All right. Bye, guys. See you later.